All right. Hey there, Rive community. Glad everybody could show up to this first ever official Rive live stream. So yeah, let's jump into our agenda and go ahead and share some slides here. All right. So a lot of you probably already know what Rive is, but for those of you who don't, Rive is a piece of software that allows you to build interactive animated assets that run in real time inside your app or game. There's two pieces to Rive. There's the editor, which lets you design, animate, and interact with real assets. It's online and it's fully collaborative. And then we have Rive runtimes, which are open source libraries that let you load your files into Flutter, the web, Android, iOS, and other places. Let's see. So yeah, about us, we're the Rive Creator Relations team. I'm Michael Myers.
I'm JC. Sorry.
I'm Zach.
I'm Robert.
So that's the team. So today we're going to be covering some upcoming events, which are pretty cool. A couple new features. We've got a demo for you, and then we'll finish off with some Q&A. All right, Robert, do you want to tackle this one?
Yeah, definitely. So I think it was about like a little over a month ago, Paul from Gatsby, approached us and asked if we would be interested in doing a sort of collaborative project with him. He wanted to create a interactive website. And so he talked to us about it, and we were really interested in the project. The art direction that he had for it was really cool, sci-fi robots. So we went out and got to sort of test our, collaborative workflow with somebody external from Rive. And all in all, I think it went really well. We've got some, if you want to see the project, I think we have a link to the project somewhere. It's at gatsbyjs.com/demos/rise of the robots. If you want to actually see the finished product, I think Gatsby and Jill from Rive wrote up blog posts that sort of cover that collaboration and sort of each of the pieces. There's the developer side of it that Paul wrote up, and then Jill wrote about the design side. And there's also going to be a live event in San Francisco. So if you're in the Bay Area on June 1st at 6 o'clock, you can sign up for that using the link to the project, that Rise of the Robot link. And if you can't make it for that, there's also going to be a webinar where Paul and Guido go through basically the same stuff, talk about the project, what Rive can do, what Gatsby can do, and that whole thing. And that's on June 14th, and you can sign up for it using that same link. So
awesome. Yeah, that project turned out really, really neat. It was cool to see it all come together. So yeah, that's a really exciting thing. Let's see. So we've got a couple features here we want to talk about. Zach, did you want to go over this?
Yeah. So one new feature that was recently introduced into the Rive editor is the ability to drag and drop Rive or Rev files, .riv or .rav files, to basically create a copy or be able to open someone else's work if they send you a .riv or Rev file. Previously, what you'd have to do is like make a new file and then drag and drop it inside the space there. But here, once you get into this file workspace, you can just drag and drop those here, and it'll automatically create those new files for you.
Yeah, it's a huge quality of life improvement. All right, and let's see. Our next feature is bone binding. So we rolled out a new way to multi-select bones and then bind them to an object. We've since updated the user experience on that, and I've got a little video to kind of show you what's in store for the updates. Currently, it's I believe a modal that comes up, which is a little bit confusing. So our designers have worked to improve that. So let me share this here. So now you'll actually go into a bone binding state, which is it gives you a indication that you're in that mode, and then you can go ahead and select your bones, and then bind them. And it is consistent between design and animate too, so you have access to that during the design and animate modes. So yeah, that's bone binding. I think that's. I think initially just the ability to multi-select bones and bind them was huge. So yeah, the improvements that are being made to that process are exciting and really useful. All right. All right, and then we've got a special demo. Which is really exciting. Listeners, you'll find out. I know you'll find out. So yeah, Robert or JC, do you want to jump in and?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
So the really cool thing about listeners, as I work to pull this up here, is when you created a state machine before, it was sort of disconnected from the stage. If you wanted to mess with it, you basically messed with the you messed with the inputs, and you could see those changing on the stage. But now with listeners, let's see, where's the share? Yep, Chrome tab. Instead of actually interacting with the inputs, we can interact with the objects on the stage, and those fire off our transitions and allow us to have actual like interactive content right on the stage that we can play with like that. So this is just a handful of little menu interactions that that I put together. And JC's got a little example as well.
Yeah, I have other example. Let me share the screen. Okay. Okay, so yeah, in this case, the idea is in this delivery icon, what it did is when you click in the icon, you can see what is the state of your delivery. Is in the way, is in the shop, or is in home. No? And when you hover and when you click and hold, you can see some information about the your package or about the distance or something like this. So yeah, the good thing about the listening is that you can try all these on the stage. It's more easy, more intuitive, and you can check if all works fine. So yeah, it's an amazing feature.
Yep, and that feature is currently in progress, so it's not out yet, but I think everybody's really excited about that launching, and it's going to open up a lot of doors for just creating interactive prototypes and really bringing those interactive animations and sequences to life. And that's kind of the big selling point of Rive, is that interactivity. So it's huge. It's really exciting.
This is hands down my favorite feature.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
Yep. All right, so let's see. Let's move on to some Q&A. We scrounged up a few questions that we thought would be good to cover. So the first one here is, how would I create an animated calligraphy effect in Rive? And I think Robert actually went ahead and set up a demo for this. So
yeah. So the short answer to this is that you're going to want to utilize the trim path feature. And what trim path allows us to do is animate a segment of a line or a line down a path, so we can animate how much of that path is actually visible. Oh, well, that didn't share. Let's try that again. Here
bear
we
with
go.
us. We're all learning.
Yeah. Okay, so in this example, I've set up two ways that you can achieve this, and both of them use trim path. So in the first example, we have a single shape with a single path underneath it, and if we animate the start value of this, you can see that we have the line animating down the path that would sort of, simulate that pin drawing out the whatever it is you're trying to write out. And that works, but typically when you do calligraphy, you're going to have to lift your pen up a couple times to make multiple different segments of whatever you're writing. So in this case, what we can do is add multiple paths to the same shape layer and then utilize the sequential mode on the trim path. And what that'll do is it'll animate the line segments or the paths in order that they're listed. So right now we've got this first stroke here on top, this path, and then we have the rest of it. And so when we go to animate that start percentage, you can see it animates that first and then the second path. So you could add in some sort of start value here and then give it a little bit of a pause and then have the rest of the line animate out. So that's how you would do a calligraphy effect.
Awesome. Perfect. Yeah. And then let's see the other questions that we had here was, can I mirror an object, an eye, for example, or any object without having to recreate it from scratch?
Yes. So quickly on that one, because we actually did get some questions from chat that are pretty good. Let me share this really quickly. So if you ever need to create an asset again that you've already created, this one is pretty simple. We've got another demo for it. So in this user's case, they were asking how you could duplicate something like an eye without having to recreate it. So in this case, all you need to do is first you want to make sure that your artwork is grouped up. Then you can duplicate it by hitting Command C or Control C and then Control V, which duplicates it. So now we have another eye and it's the exact same eye, and that looks a little silly. So we need to mirror it. And to do that, we'll just give it a negative scale on the x-axis. And now our guy's like kind of cross-eyed, but that's okay because we can fix that. Now, the one problem is that when you set a negative scale on a group, your gizmo starts giving you the opposite values. So when we try and scale it up, it actually scales down and vice versa. So to fix that, there's two ways you can do it. You can either regroup the object and that resets your gizmo, or you can remove all the objects that were nested under the group, create a new group, rename it, whatever, and then you have your eye that you can, get in place, and then obviously we can change that iris location, and there you go. You've got a duplicated and mirrored object.
Awesome. Yeah, that's a really useful tip. All right, so it looks like we did have some questions come in during the stream. Yeah, I'll go ahead and read them off and see if we can cover some of these. Leandro asks, how are listeners, I'm assuming, how are listeners different than using state machines and inputs? I didn't grasp the concept of a listener. Anybody want to field that?
I can kind of give my pitch on it. So currently with state machines and inputs, for example, say when you click on an animation, you have an input like maybe it's a Boolean input that is true or false. You know, when you click on it, that clicking part would actually be implemented usually either at runtime. You'd have to incorporate some kind of like on tap or on click listener in code and hook up the input to make that to change the value of that input in the state machine from like true to false and get that toggling effect. Similarly, in the editor, you would click or unclick that checkbox that's your Boolean input, and that would create a similar effect. With the whole concept of listeners, it removes the whole need to set up having to reference all these different inputs and setting up the on-click listeners, for example, in this particular example I'm giving, and just allows you to simply just instantiate the Rive object behind the scenes at runtime. It knows exactly how to trigger the effect you want. It's essentially giving you a way to plug into different listeners or a fixed set of kind of user concepts to trigger what kind of action you needed in the state machine. So it really simplifies the whole process down, and we'll definitely go more into that as we decide when we release this feature, and we'll have a bunch of content on that. Anyone else want to kind of give another take on that?
No, that was a good answer. I was just going to say you click on stuff and it does stuff. So I appreciate your answer.
that is more concise. But even beyond clicking, it'll have the ability to do things like hover, or simulating things like hovering, and yeah, you'll eventually see kind of like all the kind of stuff you can do with there. So yeah.
Awesome. Thank you, Zach. Let's see. Randall asks, are the same tools from Rive 1 going to be in 2? Tools like alignment aren't present in Rive 2, or maybe I'm blind. No, you're not blind.
Yeah.
We will have alignment. There's some other features that kind of took precedent over that, but it's definitely in the works. There's a lot of cool things in the works. So just hang tight. It'll be there.
Yeah, there's a huge list of features that we're working on. A lot of them came from Rive 1, and we do plan on adding a lot of those. It's just a matter of time. So just stick with us, and we'll get those to you as quick as we can.
All right. Let's see. Ruslan, sorry if I mispronounce the name. Any plans for integration with Unity? You may compete with Spine or Dragon Bones. Zach, do you know?
A runtime for Unity is on the timeline, but we can't comment on any specific release dates or anything like that yet. But it is totally on our minds.
Awesome. All right. Well, I think that's what we got from the community, from the chat for questions. Anybody have any final thoughts?
Just browsing to the questions one more time just to make sure we got everyone.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, and just as a heads up for the next live stream, we're planning on doing them every other Tuesday. So not next week, but the following week. We'll trying to shoot for 9 Pacific. So yeah, we'll be sending out a tweet and some more information about kind of what to expect for the next one, and we'll try and gather questions beforehand. So let's see. It looks like Windows app supports stylus. I know that the Mac app will or does in its current state.
I believe the Windows
not released
will
yet. Yeah,
as well.
Let's see, Leandro. Is there a chance of doing path clipping masks to bitmaps? As in using a bitmap as a clipping mask, or creating a path and then clipping? I think you can use.
Yeah, I think only works in one way, I think.
So he's got a bitmap
Yeah.
object, like a signature, and he wants to use a trim path animated to display it.
Oh, I don't. Do paths work as a clip?
Ah, yeah.
No, but you could probably use like a rectangle. Because I
animate
think,
the rectangle.
yeah,
Or animate the.
or a shape in general. You could do it that way.
Yep, that's how I would do it. And that would give you, Robert's example of using a path, which is a single width. Like if you wanted something that had more tapering, then you would need to, bring in a current image or object, and then mask it through using a shape, a custom shape. All right. Well, anything else?
Will Rive support text later on?
Yeah. Yes, at some point.
It's another feature that we definitely plan on
having.
And I can tell you that we're all really excited to get text as well. So
yeah, absolutely.
But again, we don't know when.
Yeah. Yep. There's so many exciting things coming. It sounds cheesy, but they're just, I mean, there really are. And all these little updates get everyone on the team excited. And so those bigger updates are, I think, going to have a huge impact and really get some eyes on Rive, and really enhance the experience beyond what it is now, which I think is pretty incredible as it stands. So yeah. All right. Well, I think we'll go ahead and wrap up. This should be viewable after the fact on YouTube. So if you came in halfway through it or wanted to rewatch it, you can go ahead and go to our YouTube channel and watch it there. I'll be adding some links to the description. I'll add that Gatsby demo. And then I think that's it. And like I said, keep an eye out for info on the next live stream. Should be in 2 weeks on Tuesday. And I think all of us are going to try and be there if we can. If not, you'll get a varying cast, but I think we're all going to try and be here to answer your questions and show you some cool stuff from Rive.
Leave questions on the video.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. Chat or comments are always appreciated.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right. Well, thanks again.
Awesome.
See you, everyone.
Yeah, thanks everybody.
All right,
Bye-bye.
see y'all.
Bye.